Recorded live at 4ZZZ Studios Brisbane on 102.1 FM and broadcast across Australia on the Community Radio Network.
You're listening to Z Games. With 10 years experience and over 500 episodes, Z Games brings you the best in gaming news, reviews, community and culture. Want to reach out? Message us on Facebook at ZEVGamesAU.
My name is Evie.
My name is Paul.
My name is Zahra.
Oh, I thought we were going to have to jump in on that one.
I was like, yeah. Did you forget your name?
Well,
Or you wanted like us to be hollaback girls.
Uh-huh.
Zah! Uh-huh.
yeah, they do the things.
I
Yeah.
died very quickly.
That's all right.
We are Z Games, and we talk about video gaming things. Well, not just video games, I guess. All games. And we also play gaming-related music, so that's what you'll be hearing. Not to mention some amazing and awesome and insightful and deep and meaningful reviews of indie games. And tonight we have a independent game, Necro Barista, which is an Australian development. And we also have, after that, The Milky Way Prince, which is another indie game, not Australian, however.
Not Australian.
But still indie and...
Still indie. And still a game.
And don't forget it's subtitled The Vampire Star.
Yes.
And it's full on.
It's
But it's a night for visual novels.
yeah.
Yeah. It's a visual novel night.
And we'll be describing it to
you.
you with our words.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll
Yeah.
paint a word picture.
Yeah.
We'll have to use 1,000 words. Okay, this is already getting lame. Anyway.
I was like, this is going to get complicated. That's fine. How's everyone been anyway?
It's been pretty hectic, but good.
Hectic but good. Cool.
Yeah, pretty much the same. It's a wild world. I went away, had like a family time last week. It was wild. I have to do family holidays now with
Oh, right. You had,
friends with kids.
You had Father's Day.
And I had my first Father's Day.
Oh, my gosh.
Which,
Congratulations.
yes, my 4.5-month-old son got me a subscription to Audible, which I thought was quite advanced of him. He's
he's just plowing through all the milestones.
Good on little
exactly.
Henry
Normally
Cavill.
that's not until 5 months, but
Yeah,
he
but,
is ahead of the curve.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Keep an eye on that boy. He's
He'll be able to buy all sorts of subscriptions eventually. Game Pass, Spotify.
He'll just jump in on daddy's subscriptions.
Yeah.
We know.
But we're not a binge house. We don't allow that to happen.
Why do I feel like that is a total lie? It's like, I don't binge video games.
No. Binge the streaming service.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay.
The nobody likes Foxtel, so we'll make another service and call it Binge because that's not too on the nose.
Right.
But
oh.
that's okay.
Well, there's lots of other things you can binge.
Exactly.
But we don't have to go into that.
We're not equipped.
No, definitely not equipped. But what we are equipped for is the week in gaming news. So let's have a listen to that. This week in gaming news, Twitch Sings will be no more. Twitch TV has confirmed that it will be closing down Twitch Sings at the end of this year, starting from December 1st, with January the 1st, 2021 being the total deadline. Twitch will be removing all content that is linked to the Sings wing of the service, such as clips, highlights, videos, as well as any remaining VODs. In an FAQ, Twitch is said to be inspired by all the passionate fans and talent that has been drawn to the service, and intends on investing in broader tools and service to help assist the music community on the streaming platform. There has been a lot of disappointment around the closure of Twitch Sings, with one fan saying, "I'm not going to lie, it's been quite depressing during the pandemic. Twitch Sings, the beautiful people I have made friends with, have been a singular saving grace." Black Girl Gamers for a more inclusive gaming landscape. BGG is a multi-age platform and LGBTIQ+ online gaming community with over 6,000 followers on Facebook, comprising of mostly black women who share their love and passion for gaming. Created by J. Ann Lopez back in 2015 to help create a gaming space that was less toxic for black women. Lopez said that she was frustrated with the racism and misogyny that she was experiencing, and that she wanted to increase visibility and inclusion for women within the industry. This isn't J. Ann's first time creating a community for minorities. She's also created an online empowerment platform called Culture, which encourages black women to embrace their natural hair and beauty. Black Girl Gamers community has now over 50,000 followers across Twitch, Twitter, and Instagram. If you'd like to spread the word and support this awesome community, search using the tag @BlackGirlGamers or head over to the Zed Games Facebook page for the link at ZedGamesAU. Play Doom on a pregnancy test. That's right, you heard me. Thanks to Foon Turning, who is a collector and computer tinkerer, posted on Reddit showing off a GIF of Doom that was rendered on a pregnancy test display. In the GIF, you can see the tiny walls, floors, doors, and the pixelated corridors of Doom. Foon tweeted a day or so after sharing the GIF on Reddit saying that the processing power of the pregnancy test is probably faster than the original IBM PC that Doom started on. If you'd like to take a look at that GIF, head over to the Zed Games Facebook page at ZedGamesAU. That's all this week in gaming news.
Gaming news, delicious.
Yum, yum.
Yum, 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 yum. Speaking, some more interesting and delicious gaming news. Probably shouldn't have gone with and yum.
Give me some
pregnancy
more, Evie.
test, but anyway.
I want to know more news.
I didn't want to say anything, but that was just bad.
I've only had my appetite whetted so far, and now I must be satiated. Please.
Okay, well, there's more news.
Yes.
More news?
That I failed to mention because there's just so much. It is Super Mario Brothers' 35th anniversary, and they've launched a whole bunch of celebratory stuff. So one of them is Nintendo has just, which is unrelated actually to Mario, is Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. They just dropped that casually, which will be launched on the Switch in a couple months. So
That's really exciting.
Was it November?
Yeah, November.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the successor to the original Hyrule Warriors of 2014, which combined massive battles from Dynasty Warriors with the lore of Zelda. So Age of Calamity is set 100 years before Breath of the Wild. So you can experience all the drama that leads up to the events that unfold.
My problem with Dynasty Warriors games is every time a new one comes, I go, this looks pretty good. Maybe this time I'll like it. And then I play it and it's a Dynasty Warriors game still. I'm like, it's not for Paul.
Get back down. But yes, back to the Nintendo and 35th anniversary for Super Mario Brothers. There will be a whole bunch of released things, such as I'm frantically trying to find the words on my screen right now.
I can tell you the words.
Okay, go, Paul.
Okay, so Super Mario 3D All Stars, so it's basically a sequel to All Stars, which was the old 2D games. So that combines Mario 64, Mario Sunshine, and Galaxy 1, not 2, just the first one. So they're repackaged for the Switch. And the weirdest thing, so it's launching in December, or maybe a little bit, I can't remember the exact launch date. Or was it earlier? Yeah. You can correct me on that one. It's only going to be available until March.
What?
Yeah. There's limited run physical, but also limited digital. So after March, it's not going to be available for purchase. They're making... Nintendo weird. Anyway.
Launching on the 13th of November.
13th of November.
At a retail price of $79.95 AU.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think December is when they are then launching Super Mario 3D World, which was a Wii U game, and it has a new bunch of content called Bowser's Fury.
Yes, Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury, an enhanced version of Super Mario 3D World, which originally launched on the Wii U.
Very good game. It has the best mechanic of party game. It has a crown, which is meaningless, but only one person wears it, and you must steal it from each other.
But we want it.
Yes.
I want it right now.
So I was like, I need it.
I need it.
Every level just is fighting over the damn crown. And then they have Mario 35, which is basically Super Mario Brothers, but 35 people play it at once. It's similar to Tetris 99. So every time you kill an enemy, another enemy gets spawned in someone else's game. And that's, I think, limited time as well. It's a bit weird. So that's
Nintendo
there's a lot
Online. I can see there's a lot of like fine print in my PR here from Nintendo. And it's
Nintendo don't like to make it simple. And then the other big one was new Mario Kart, which is Mario Kart Live Home Circuit.
Mario Kart Live Home Circuit. You nailed it, yeah.
Yeah, which is an AR game. So you get a little physical kart, and it's got a camera behind Mario, and you map out a racetrack in your house, and then you play on the Switch, driving a real kart around your house with virtual enemies and things. And you can have multiple karts as well in the physical space, but buying the kart is $150 Australian.
Yeah, I was going to say,
So
it's
if
not
you
cheap
want
for that one, though.
multiplayer, it's a Switch per cart plus the space to do this thing in. I mean, it looks cool, but does it look that cool?
It's a birthday party for rich people.
Yeah.
There's
yeah.
also a new Nintendo product called Game & Watch Super Mario Brothers, which is a mini gaming device inspired by the retro Game & Watch system that plays the original Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah. So it's basically an
Lost
alarm
Levels
clock,
as well. Yeah.
which has it has the original Game & Watch stuff, and it has lost levels. So the yeah.
Lots happening
And I'm
there with
pretty
Nintendo.
sure you'll be able to hack the hell out of it, because that's how Nintendo does stuff these days.
If you've got the money between the time frames that they allow and you can throw it at it, by all means go for it. In other news as well, there's also been some big announcements with Microsoft, or leaks rather. Microsoft has confirmed via its official Xbox Twitter account that a diskless tiny Xbox called the Series S will be released alongside its forthcoming Xbox Series X. The Series S was initially leaked on Monday by someone on Twitter, and also by Walking Cats, which are developers of a game coming to the Series S. The Xbox account tweeted an image of the same small design dominated by a large sort of round vent grill on this white box, and basically they said that it's yes, this is coming out. Yeah, okay. Microsoft were like, okay, it's been leaked now. We might as well just run with it.
Well, the first major leak was because you can buy an Xbox Series X controller, and this was about a month ago, and on it lists compatibility with the Series S. So
Right,
it's the worst kept secret around. But now we've seen it.
Yeah.
It's a box with a grill.
And it's also going to retail for about $2.99, which is I think about little over 400 Australian dollars.
Yeah, 450 area. I don't think we have Australian actual pricing though, so that can vary a bit.
Yeah.
Sometimes Microsoft is nice and Australian is actually cheaper.
I did a quick conversion of $2.99 US to AUD, and it was for $14. So it's actually, I imagine they'd probably round that down to $3.99 or something like that.
If you're feeling generous.
So it's probably going to be about $400 roughly. Shouldn't be too bad, and it's all obviously going to be online downloadable content.
Yeah.
Diskless, and it's 1080p only. So that's how they're getting cheaper hardware in there, because they're not pushing the 4K that they want to do.
But that's good
on
for a
the
casual gamer.
Yeah, it's
right?
It's a pretty
probably for
good
most
companion to the Game Pass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like out of both of them, I'm more interested in the lower powered one.
Yeah.
Because if I'm going to have I really love local multiplayer games, and that's a little thing I can take with me and put around.
Yeah.
But also, is it worth that much to me? I've got other things I can do, so I don't need to spend that money.
Yeah.
But yeah, otherwise I'm a PC boy, so I play all Xbox stuff on my PC.
True.
Yeah, why not?
But I just want to say, I think it looks adorable. Like, it's so small.
It is quite cute. It's
Yeah.
very compact, which is why I think that's a huge selling point, is that it's quite portable.
Yeah.
My favorite compact is always a GameCube, because it literally had the handle.
Oh, right. Yeah,
that's
that
right.
was... Yeah, I've seen sort of like people who repurposed their old GameCubes into like little purses kind of
Oh,
thing.
yeah.
I was going to say, I think I've seen some
That's cute.
handbags that are GameCube themed.
It's just so good.
Another one with the 360, because it had the removable hard drive. So that's all we would
that's
take to each other's
right.
houses. We'd just pull the hard drive out and walk to a mate's place. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
We need more Well, I suppose these days everything's just online. You don't need to take anything with you.
Wait till Google Stadia works.
I'm waiting for a while, I think.
Yeah, we'll be waiting for a while. Paul, I believe you have a review.
We're going to talk about Necro Barista.
Necro Barista.
No, don't mix it up with Neko Barrister, which is about cat lawyers. But
Oh.
actually, it doesn't
Wait,
exist. I just made that up.
You just made me really excited, and then crushed me.
Well, I do have a long-standing, not confusion, but the word barrister and barista do get like mixed up quite regularly in my mind.
That's fair.
So I do have a lot of fun in my play space in my brain.
I just can't get past kittens. Like,
They got a briefcase as
gavel.
well. Oh my gosh!
sorry.
All right.
Okay.
Okay, well, there's a pitch for another game if someone wants to make it.
Yeah, no one steal that. We're
Necro
trademarking.
Barista is by Route 59. It's a Melbourne-based developer. They've been working on it for a number of years. It's film financed through Film Victoria, and they've been showing at PAX and things for a few years, but I've actually avoided the game for a while because it's a visual novel, and to me, I don't really want to run into the writing and presentation until it's complete, because that's the entire package. Gameplay is easy to prototype early on, but when it's just story, well, I kind of just want to see the final version. So I have not played it before it finally came out. So it's a visual novel centered around a cafe in Melbourne called The Terminal. It's a strange establishment, partly because they serve a lot of alcohol there, which is a bit weird for a cafe, but mostly because it's a place where the dead spend the last 24 hours of their existence on this plane after they die and before they move on to the next place. If a spirit stays there for longer than 24 hours, the terminal builds up a debt with the Council of Death, and that's bad. So there's a danger, I feel, when you build a mythology around a metaphorical concept like this, that if you get too mechanical in the nitty-gritty of how things work, then you start to ask more questions about, well, if that person's soul can do this, why can't you take that? It's like, no. So thankfully, it pretty much walks that line for me where it's broad enough that you're not asking questions about how magic works, which is always a problem. But specific enough that you can still feel something and follow a story. I have no idea if any of the patrons, living or dead, actually pay for their drinks at the terminal.
Okay.
Doesn't really matter, but I don't really understand how the business model works. That's fine. It's not really the point. The structure of the game is, so Maddie is sort of your main character. She is the necro barista. She's a necromancer who's also the barista and also the new owner of the terminal. She's taken it on from the old owner, Shay, who still lives in there. There's a sort of a little ragtag group of people that go through the game. So yeah, it's broken into chapters, probably each about half an hour long. And it's a little bit strange in its presentation is extremely anime.
Right.
So it's mostly dialogue based. Most visual novels are. Because it's rendered in 3D in a 3D world, they can move the camera around a lot. They change shots pretty much every sentence, which is pretty unusual for a visual novel. Normally it's a background and two heads talking or something like that. So it's very dynamic. But with that freedom, my background is film and cinematography. So I wouldn't say they're fantastic cinematographers, as it doesn't mean anything most of the shots. There's a lot of close-ups of people sitting down. I think it's because there's very little animation in the game, but animating a butt going into a chair is quite cheap. So they're like, we'll do another close-up of someone sitting down. But most of the shots are focused on being cool, like anime cool. Yeah. And they are anime cool. So maybe not the greatest cinematography, but it is cool to look at, and that's what they're primarily going for.
So it's kind of like dynamic in that nature.
Yeah. So you'll play through, as I say, about half an hour sort of blocks generally. They get a bit smaller, a bit longer, depending on which chapter you're in. And then at the end, you select a number of words that appeared in the chapter. There's a little twist to that later, but it doesn't really matter. And then those words become a currency. So say if you pick necromancy as a word, it'll say, that's a magic word. And then you can walk around the establishment in between chapters, and there are items you can unlock, and they have memories attached to them, which are basically just little short stories. And some of them follow on from each other. But you have to get the right currencies to unlock the right memories. It's about the only thing in the game that can be considered gameplay. And it's okay. It's a bit weird. It's a bit like that. But also just a bit weird intense. Because so most of the game is just third person watching people talk. And then at the end of each chapter, there's 3 robots that like sum up, like they're sort of narrators. And then sometimes it's a disembodied voice talking about the characters. And they are all separated, but the tone is a little bit weird to me as a piece of writing. But generally, still just very interesting. And those things are separated. It's just that they sort of do every sort of tense of writing and positioning I can think of. So anyway, as I say, very, very anime. Story is very anime. They love it. The framing is just the character devices. So you've got Maddie, the main character, Shay, the old owner. You've got Ashley, who's a young sort of technological prodigy, and she's got one metal arm. You've got Ned, and this is when we start getting very Australian. So this is based in Melbourne.
Okay.
Ned, I believe, is literally Ned Kelly.
Interesting.
He has a steel helmet for a head, and you make lots of references to Ned Kelly. And like some of these characters are very old, so I believe literally that's the case in this game. But either way, a very interesting, fun character. So one of the weird things is, as I said, it was a very pretty game. So I took a lot of screenshots going through, partly so I can put them with an eventual review and stuff, but also just because it's fun to take screenshots. And I took...
Is it?
It can be. As I say, it has lots of cool shots. Cool is where we are. And it also has like an intro movie, which is pre-rendered. So it looks much better than the original, than the actual game, at least on, and I'll get onto this later, at least on iPad where I played it.
Okay.
And I took a few screenshots during that opening intro. And as I'm scrolling through after I finished the game, after seeing this particular screenshot, I went on to the internet and searched, and I found the Discord and went into it. And the general sentiment is, who the hell is that? There is a character in that intro that does not exist in the game. Which is good, because there's another problem in the game in that halfway through you're introduced to a few new characters and you're like, oh good, new stories coming in, and they get introduced and then they do nothing because they're going to keep adding to it. It's free DLC is coming to the game, so whilst I never recommend someone buy a game for things that will be coming, the game itself is a complete story, but it will have additional story later with this character we haven't seen, and the characters that haven't been explored yet, they'll be explored at a later date.
So it's sort of like they've planted this Easter egg in advance.
It's a very noticeable person.
It's like Mickey Mouse's Funhouse, where he's like, "This is a surprise tool that'll come in handy later."
Exactly. So that's kind of good. As I said, I played it on Apple Arcade on the iPad, and it is an extremely bad port. A lot of bad textures in the game, but the worst part is that section I said where you can find items between missions and find stories. It's a first-person walk around section. You use dual virtual sticks on the iPad to move. This thing runs at like 2 frames a second. It is, and it crashed on me 5 times.
Right.
Yeah.
Would not recommend.
Ouch.
The final shot of the game, the shot in a quiet, poignant moment, I don't think that's that much of a spoiler to say in a game about death, which I seem to be specializing in at Zed Games, was completely glitched out on the iPad. It was a bunch of geometry missing textures and stuff. I went and then checked a playthrough on PC that someone had posted, and no, it's a lovely, beautiful shot. All the shaders are so much better. Everything's smooth. Everything. Do not play this game on the iPad. It is even if they patch it later, check before you go for it. On PC, it looks beautiful. The everything is a lot smoother and closer to the opening cutscene, and that's just nice. Just generally, it is a pretty solid story. It's mostly about the characters, and the characters are very entertaining. At the beginning, it did take me about 2 chapters before I got into them, but then I would watch an anime about these characters, and my only question, which is sometimes a question I have about a lot of visual novels, is whether or not this game benefits from being in an interactive format, or whether it would have been better, say, as a short series or movie or something else. There's no voice acting or anything like that, so obviously there's a budgetary limit.
Is the medium right for this particular narrative sort of thing?
I kind of feel like the art is so good, it would almost be cooler as a series, but also more expensive to make. What they've built as a 3D system, and it uses Unity as a back end, means that they can have a way more dynamic camera than they normally do in a visual novel. So I see why they've done what they've done. But yeah, I really enjoyed the story. I had a lot of technical hiccups going through, but they are primarily because of the port on the iPad. The music by Kevin Penkin and music producer Jeremy Lim is really cool. It's mostly sort of like noodly synth piano in the background.
Yeah.
Like literally if you just have a pianist in the middle of a bar that's just sort of like spending some time here. And then as dramatic moments come in, it's a little bit more specific at those points of the narrative.
It's like the piano player in the cafe was like, I noticed some tension at the table.
Yeah. Ooh. Yeah, like Randy Newman really getting into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, very solid piece, and I'm very interested to see where they take it from now, because I feel they probably spent a lot of time building these systems, and depending on how the scripting language is, it'll be interesting to see how quickly they get out new content. Because, it's an interesting universe, this whole Council of Death that controls... Like, they have a liquor license from the Council of Death, not from the Melbourne government. So, it is kind of weird that it's in Melbourne.
Posh.
It doesn't...
Little things.
Yeah, I didn't really get a lot of
sense to
Melbourne,
me.
except they mentioned, like, Carlton. I think that's a football team, isn't it? This
But
isn't
it's
my area of
also
specialism.
a beer.
No, they're talking about football at the time.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, like Carlton and someone else, and like they drop a few references, but I'm also like, does it really need to be in Melbourne? You don't go anywhere else. I guess it's fine. There's a tram.
Melbourne.
Doesn't really
Thumbs up.
explain, but it does have quite a few Australian references, and a bit of slang as well,
that's
which
great.
is always
That's fun.
So it's almost like a Australian-based anime series.
Oh yeah, and
Interesting.
it's super, like, so much of it is going into animes that I watched in my... I sort of wanted to be about the same age as me, so probably based on the same animes that I watched in like the late 90s, early 2000s.
Oh, cool.
It's like, But yeah, it's a style.
So where is it available? It's on PC. Not recommend it.
It's on PC on pretty much everything, every service to buy it on. I don't recommend it on the iPad. I believe they're also porting it to console as well, but that hasn't come out yet, as far as I've seen.
Cool beans. Well, thanks, Paul.
Yeah, I don't even like coffee.
Well,
what?
It's like based in Melbourne. It's like literally coffee mecca of the world.
Yeah, about a barrister.
And we've done a full circle.
Meow.
Zahra now has a review.
A review for The Milky Way Prince, The Vampire Star. A fairy tale come to life. A fallen prince from the stars. An instant connection. Romance. Love. Passion. Pain. Guilt. Fear. Anger. Mutual orbit. Spinning out of control. Milky Way Prince is a unique visual novel game about abuse in relationships, mental illness, and intimacy. With a combination of 3D environments and 2D characters with a simplified color palette, it is beautiful, haunting, horrifying, resulting in an experience that has left me thinking and feeling, mind turbulent. I won't go into detail in this review, but the game does delve into emotional abuse, self-harm, suicide ideation, and the difficult, ugly sides of mental illness. It's rough. I had to take breaks between chapters to go hug my cat. But it is a beautiful game. It explores these themes in a way that was unique, thought-provoking, and jarring. In Milky Way Prince, you play as Nuki, a young man with stars in his eyes, obsessed with the stars that litter the night sky. You learn of a fairy tale, where a prince from the stars falls to earth. A beautiful romantic tale. Nuki spots a falling star in real life, and follows it to find a man who is crying. He is Suni, and this is your first meeting. What follows should play out like the fairy tale, and in a way it does, but the brightest stars are the most unstable, and as beautiful as they are, to get too close is to invite disaster. But like a moth to a flame, Nuki is drawn. He has stars in his eyes, and Sune is his prince. Most of the game functions like your standard visual novel game. The characters have some conversations, and you're able to select dialogue options to respond to the situation. There aren't any wrong responses, but they change how the game plays out. Whether that prevents catastrophe, destroys you, or otherwise, it can be hard to tell which option will lead to which conclusion. And that's kind of the point of the game. Sometimes in life, and especially in abusive situations, there aren't any safe responses, there aren't clear ways out, and there aren't tidy resolutions. Sometimes all you can do is react. There is a beautiful mechanic involving intimacy, where you swear an oath before engaging, with elements of BDSM, interesting symbology, and the ability to decide on which one of your senses you will use in this situation. It gives you insight into this relationship between Nuki and Sune. It is intense, displaying both vulnerability and the guarded nature of Sune. He is someone who gives so much, but withdraws in an instant, who bombs Nuki with affection and love, only to immediately put up walls and become reclusive, hot and cold, light and dark, opposites in a single person. At times, the game throws you into high-stress situations, where you experience an impending explosion, and you have to defuse it before it happens, a dozen times over. There are moments where the game will make you jump with how quickly things can change. You are kept on edge, uncertain, afraid, but wanting to push forwards, to push through, to help Sune. It's kind of the point. The music is of the electropop variety, and it can be quiet at times, but even the music will lash out at you, throwing sound at you, leading to an auditory punch to the visual hit. When things are calm and good, the music is nice, pleasant, kind. But when things are bad, when a situation is spiraling, when you watch Sune fall apart, it becomes painful, attacking your senses, overwhelming you. I became very stressed and anxious when I heard those chords. At times, though, the audio is overdone, and it does become almost comedic. Sometimes it's just not necessary, and just becomes annoying. Not in a good, adding to the experience way, but in a I am now clicking as quickly as possible to make that sound stop because it sounds like a rubber balloon way. Overall, however, the game is jarring. It is beautiful. It is horrifying. It is frustrating. It is a lot. Many people are aware of mental illness and what it can do to the person. It can be exhausting, difficult to understand and explain, hard to live with. It can be managed with the hope of being able to thrive one day. But a lot of the time it can be ugly, destructive, not just for the sufferer, but also for those around them. Those people can remove themselves from it at least. But what happens if you don't? If you don't understand? If you're poorly equipped, unprepared, and if the person with the illness doesn't want your help? What happens when two stars are locked in orbit, when those stars spiral out of control, closer to each other? One of the features of the game I really appreciated, after feeling like I just wanted to grab Sune by the shoulders and shake him, was that you can experience the game from his point of view for a little while. You see through his eyes, see his thoughts, his reasoning, his logic. You begin to understand. I appreciated that.
Sounds like a really intense emotional narrative.
Yeah, it's really heavy. It's quite a lot.
Right off the bat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't ease you into it.
Okay, so it's sort of straight into the deep end.
Pretty
All right.
much. So yeah, after playing it, I did have to take a break and just kind of like think about things. Because it just made me think a lot about relationships and how mental illness can play a part in that.
Right.
And how sometimes it's not pretty.
So what platform did you play?
I played it on the PC. It is available also on the Mac. I believe it is also coming to the consoles soon.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think there's a date for the consoles.
Yeah.
I'm trying with that.
That
It's a relatively short game.
yeah, it's only about
About an hour and a half, didn't you say?
yeah. It took
Roughly.
me about 3 hours to get through it though.
Oh,
just
3
because-
hours. Okay.
Just because
Have a break.
Yeah, I was just like,
There's
"Ooh."
multiple endings as well. There's all sorts
Yeah.
of stuff with it. I do find
Yeah.
like I love the visual style of it. It's like a lot of reds and just sort
Yeah.
of variations on that, and then
It's very
2D characters in front of
it's
it.
like very simple but very beautiful, almost neon, but without being painful on the eyes.
Reminds me a little bit of maybe something like Suda 51 would do, like Killer 7 or something like that.
Yeah.
I just find the one thing that I just found completely weird, completely random, just a technical weird thing. When you're sort of in between stations, you get those little 3D scenes.
Yeah.
You can move around. The perspective shifts as you move the mouse around the screen.
Yeah.
I didn't understand why they did that. It's like, what? I thought it was like a touch game, like an iPad, but it's not on the iPad. I'm like, oh, okay. Doesn't hurt anything. It's just a bit weird.
I kind of just thought that was just kind of like a sort of a sense of control. I'm putting that in quotation marks kind of thing. But you can't really, it just shifts the perspective a bit. Doesn't really do much.
Yeah. It's like when those games when you're allowed to wiggle the camera during a cutscene.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I'm adding to the experience here.
If I wiggle enough, I'll
wiggle.
break free.
Well, thank you, Zahra. That was a beautiful review. And thank you, the Milky Way Prince, for existing and creating such an intense experience. If you're interested in that intense experience, you can head over to the Z Games Facebook page at ZEDGamesAU, and you can click on the link on a post that went up earlier before the show that sort of details a bit more about it and where you can download it and pay for it and support indie development.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is the end of Z Games tonight. Thank you for joining us on this adventure of visual novel / interactive game novel medium. I don't know. It's an interactive experience.
Yeah.
Games.
That thing. Games.
I like a visual novel now and then.
Stories.
Time.
Characters.
Neco barristers.
No.
Paul. Wait. Okay. We gotta focus.
Yeah, focus. We're not allowed to take too long in this outro.
It's fine.
Oh, good, because let's talk about our favorite visual novels.
no.
Sorry. Another day.
Look, it's been a great episode. The news and Mario and all things and Necrobarista. I hope you've had an enjoyable time out there. And if you have any game suggestions that you'd like us to play or whatever, you can head over to the Z Games Facebook page at ZEDGamesAU and shoot us a message. Let us know what you're playing and what's going on, what's happening for you. Anyway, it's the end of the episode now, and Paul, Zahra, and I will say goodbye.
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 Bye.
Thanks for listening to Z Games. If you'd like to listen to more, check out our podcast on Spotify or follow us on social media at ZEDGamesAU. See you next time.